Hey there, friend. This is Pastor Vince back here with you on the WSLM Radio Ministry Podcast, where we stand for God's truth, not man's traditions, and we bring you straight Bible truth for these last days. The WSLM Radio Ministry Podcast is a virtual outreach ministry of Sacrificial Lamb Ministries. We are outreach driven. If you've been listening to us for the past 2 Sundays, meaning this morning for First Day Power Surge and last week's edition of First Day Power Surge, you'll know that we have just completed parts 1 and 2 of our current Bible study. Our current Bible study lesson is entitled Prayer, the Key to the Kingdom. And I just came across something since our episode this morning. It is still Sunday, March 5th. 2023, and at 6 o'clock a.m. this morning, Eastern Standard Time, we brought you the First Day Power Surge episode, and we completed part 2 of our lesson on prayer, the key to the kingdom. And I came across something since this morning's episode concerning prayer, and I just want to share it with you right now on this day. And this is something I found in a Bible called the First Responders Bible. It's a Bible, it's God's Word, but it's prepared especially for those who are in positions of first responder, whether you are an EMT paramedic, you're in a border patrol. It's very, very handy. And like I said, it's written for someone in any of those professions. It's called the First Responders Bible. So I repeat, it is God's Word, but in the back of the Bible, they have something called the Spiritual Fitness Manual. Be right with God, be right with others, be right with yourself. Again, is geared toward people who are in the military. You're a first responder like an EMT paramedic. You work with the border patrol. It's very neat. I wish they had something like this when I was in the military years ago, because spiritual care is important for all of us, regardless of what profession we work in. But I know from my experience, I have experienced, I was in the military, I was an EMT, I was a paramedic, I was a medic in the military. And so, yeah, this is very, very important that we take care of ourselves spiritually as well. So this particular article that I'm going to share with you was written by a chaplain, Jesus Alvarez, of the U.S. Border Patrol. I don't know when this was written, but at the time this was written, Chaplain Jesus Alvarez was with the U.S. Border Patrol, and this is simply called The Power of Prayer. And there's a section here where he talks about, he says, prayer is a powerful tool. So let me just quote this for you. Let me read directly from what Chaplain Jesus Alvarez says. He says, we establish our need for God in every aspect of our lives by praying. We see signs of this when we ask for holy gifts on our own behalf or for the betterment of others. These prayers bring forth goodness in our lives and in the lives of those around us. Be patient in prayer and look for the fruits of what your prayers bring forth. They're called blessings, and they almost always are miraculous. Remember again to have faith when you pray, and know that God is anxious to hear your voice calling out to Him. When we establish when we establish a prayer dialogue with God, He hears us in all our prayers and answers them. But sometimes we don't like the answers or become impatient. Temper your prayers with patience and wisdom. Patience to wait for an answer or sign, and wisdom to accept whatever answer you receive. So don't be afraid, little flock, for it gives your Father great happiness to give you the kingdom. And that's from Luke 12:32. He also quotes Romans 8:26, which says, in the same way, the Spirit also helps our weaknesses, for we do not know how to pray as we should, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. Again, that was written by, he quotes 2 Bible verses, but this was written by, Chaplain Jesus Alvarez of the U.S. Border Patrol, and he entitles his article here, the power of prayer. So friends, I just wanted just to share that with you really quick, because we're studying about prayer here on the podcast during First Day Power Surge. As I said, we completed part 2 of our study earlier this morning. And by God's grace, next week, we will complete part 3 of our study on prayer. And again, the study is entitled Prayer, the Key to the Kingdom. Thank you for listening, and join us tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time for another program here on the WSLM Radio Ministry Podcast. Our program tomorrow, as it will be every Monday by God's grace, our program is called Pray for the Persecuted. You don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for listening to the WSLM Radio Ministry Podcast, where we stand for God's truth, not man's traditions, and we bring you straight Bible truth for these last days. The WSLM Radio Ministry Podcast is a virtual outreach ministry of Sacrificial Lamb Ministries. We are outreach driven. This is your host, Pastor Vince. Stay blessed, and by God's grace, join us tomorrow morning for Pray for the Persecuted at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care.